Welcome to 734 Games, and this is your host Tom. And today we are playing Ruiner by Riekon, a developer out of Poland. So let's check out Ruiner, a game that's available on Linux, Windows, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. So let's check this game out. Now, of course, Ruiner is done in Poland, like so many other games are made today. Poland has a really deep development scene, and Ruiner is like a cyberpunk action game, sort of twin stick shooter, but you do kind of have, it kind of has a sort of an open world feel later on. I mean, I wouldn't say it's completely open world. If you like the indie content here on 734 Games, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. And if there's a game you want to see on 734 Games, tell me in the comments section. And let's get started with Ruiner. Now, being that this game is done in Poland, I kind of find it surprising that Ruiner is not available on GOG. It's available on Steam and, of course, the Epic Game Store. I got a free copy from the Epic Game Store, but if you're a Linux user, you could play this game on Linux through this browser or through this plugin called Heroic, and it plays the games just like it's supposed to. I mean, this game runs great on my Linux machine, Heroic app, and I run this on a Debian machine, and it runs beautifully. I mean, the Heroic app, every game I download through Heroic, from the Epic Game Store, runs perfect, and I can't wait for some future release. I love running these games on. They actually run better through Heroic than they do through Steam Proton. Like, I had trouble getting some games to run in Proton. Heroic, I haven't had any problem yet. So we'll see if that continues. And later on, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed going to a full live service game. This is probably the end of Assassin's Creed, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, we are talking about Ruiner from Riekon. And this game was published by Devolver Digital. But Devolver Digital publishes a ton of indie games. Some really cool single-player indie games. And you should check out anything from Devolver Digital deserves a look. Riekon is a Polish developer. This is a cyberpunk game. A couple of cyberpunk games I've covered recently, like obviously Cyberpunk, as well as Observer, another game I covered on this show. Now, I covered Ruiner before on another channel I did. I used to have a BitTube channel, and BitTube just got too hard to upload stuff. I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't get things up when I wanted them to. And actually not BitTube, I'm sorry, BitChute. I had trouble getting stuff up on BitChute. BitTube, I still have my BitTube, although I've had issues with that one recently. It seems like a lot of these smaller, video front ends, for uploading videos, these YouTube competitors have had issues. I still sold stuff to Odyssey, so maybe I'll put an Odyssey link there. I haven't had any problems with that. Though Odyssey, like I said, has legal issues, so I really wasn't pushing that channel, but yeah, I enjoy bringing indie content to you guys. These are games that aren't going to get the kind of coverage that you're going to get, these AAAs get from the mainstream gaming media. And you know why. I mean, this is not like some big PlayStation exclusive, or it's not Call of Duty. It's Ruiner. It's a cool game where you wake up in this facility called Haven, and your only instructions is to kill boss. I mean, everything about the game, the look, the presentation, everything is just awesome. I love it. It's beautiful. And it's funny because, like, you look at a game like this, you look at a AAA game like Cyberpunk, which I hope they fix Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk has, I hope it has a long way to go, but I really hope they No Man's Sky that game to really save it, because I don't think anyone's going to want to buy DLC. And I think they should just put everything that was missing into the game, fix that game. This game runs beautiful, but it's a small indie game. And, I mean, everything does it just what it's supposed to do. You kind of have, like I said earlier, you have this sort of open world. And that's really cool for a top-down isometric game. You can tell this was a game that was done with a budget. But they really stretched that budget in every way they could see. And this is an Unreal 4 engine game. And I'm sure Unreal games generally look pretty good. I mean, it's almost hard to ruin a game done in Unreal 4. I mean, Epic will even help you make the game. So I think that's pretty cool. So this game is definitely a hit. You should definitely pick this game up. Even if you're not somebody who plays indie games and you just love cyberpunk action games, this is definitely a game that you should pick up. Another thing about this game is this game was made by developers who worked on, who worked at CD Projekt Red. So they worked on a lot of the games that they've worked on before, all the Witcher games, and they came and they made this game. And this game is pretty good. It's pretty cool. It came out in 2017. So they obviously, they came out with this game a long time ago, and had little to do with Cyberpunk or anything like that. But this is really a cool indie title, and it's just a really cool visual aesthetic too. You got that red light coming down, and the black outfit, and you got just everything about that. It's really awesome, and I totally enjoyed this game, and I'm definitely planning on just playing this game all the way through and finishing this title. Now, since Ruiner launched, Riekon Games has been working on this game called Final Form. They unveiled it, but I don't think that one is going to be an indie game. I'm thinking that Final Form, they're being published by Koch Media, so they're being published by a very big conglomerate. So basically, that next game is probably going to be AAA. There's a video you can look up Final Form. I mean, obviously, sometimes developers, these small indie developers, they get big, they grow, and they get some street credibility, and they make AAA games, and that's pretty much what's happened with these guys. They're making this Final Form game. It looks pretty cool, like a futuristic first-person shooter. A little bit more aesthetic, a little bit more Call of Duty than something like this game here. This game's a lot more indie than that game. But you should probably still check out Final Form, even though it's not indie. On this channel, I cover the indies, though. I don't know if I'll be covering that one. Probably not. I'll probably play that one, though. But yeah, I really like bringing the indies to you guys because these are games you're not going to see everywhere else. I mean, you can find this game other places, but yeah, this is a really cool game with a great aesthetic, and it's cool to talk about these small teams that make great games. Now, I'm hoping that Riekon Games, they stay independent, at least, like they take the money from making Final Form, and they still can make their own games. That's really cool. That'd be kind of like Dot or other studios that, they'll work with other companies, but they generally make their own games. And I think that's awesome. I like as many independent developers as you can, even though I think down the line you're going to see a lot of indie developers become AAA developers. And this could be one of those developers. Looking at what they got here is pretty sweet. Now, earlier I was telling you about Assassin's Creed going to a live service. I guess Assassin's Creed is going to be Assassin's Creed Infinity or Infinite or something. Now, the thing about Assassin's Creed games is the games have gotten bigger, but the variety of things to do, you kind of feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, and the games are actually really grindy. And they do that so you'll buy, you'll buy time savers, and when you go to a live service, they did this with games that you were buying outright. But when this game goes live service, I think it's going to be, it's going to be times 1,000. It's going to be Uber live service where you just pay for every little thing. It doesn't sound like a good prospect to me. And all the Assassin's Creeds, basically, it's like Black Flag and everything before. Well, actually, no, I did enjoy Origins. I gotta say that. Origins was pretty cool because it had some really cool boss battles. And it had some things that made it stand out from other Assassin's Creed games. I didn't like the one where they were in England that much. Syndicate, I don't know, Syndicate really didn't do much for me. But Origins was pretty cool. Unity was great once they fixed it. Unity was awesome. But it seems like after Syndicate suffered from what the newer Assassin's Creed suffered from. It's like the games are almost too big, and there's a lot of stuff to do, but all the stuff that you're doing is the same. And what I see I played Odyssey, and I could not stand how Odyssey, as soon as you beat a boss, the people in the next area, for some reason, everything would just level up 2 levels, and you'd have to grind and do more crap, or buy time savers just to go to the next area of the game. That kind of sucked, and it seemed like it was done intentionally to get you to buy more garbage. And that's the problem with these live services. Live services, it's funny, is like developers think that making a game live services means that game is going to print money. And the thing about live services is they have to be, you have to have people there to manage them at all times. It's not like a game like Ruiner where you put the game out and people just play it, and as long as the game can play on your system, it's fine. No, this is, and that's the thing, like, you see that with a lot of games today, Dark Alliance being one of them, and, there's plenty of other games. Every game that comes out wants to be another Destiny or another WoW or another Warframe, And a lot of games come out and they try and they fail miserably. I would say it almost seems like when it comes to live services, more live services games fail than any other game. And the problem with live services is that you have to spend a whole lot of money to get those games off the ground. And I just don't think it's a good idea to take Assassin's Creed as a live service. Although it'd be cool if Ubisoft said, okay, let's have Assassin's Creed, let's have this Assassin's Creed live service, but we'll have smaller teams make single-player Assassin's Creed games. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be awesome if they did, and they allow people to enjoy. But they know that probably the live service probably won't be very good, and that no one's going to want to play if there's an alternative. It'd be cool if somebody made like a different style of Assassin's Creed game. Maybe another developer made something without the license, obviously, something that was like a Tenchu or an Assassin's Creed. That would be cool. I mean, that'd be kind of fill of a void because you don't have a lot of stealth games right now. And I'm kind of missing some really cool stealth games. Like Unity was one of the last good games. Like I could pretty much recommend, I would recommend Origins and Unity. I would skip Syndicate. Syndicate's okay, but basically Origins, Unity, and everything before that. Those are awesome games. Like they have the Ezio collection. They have Assassin's Creed 3, the remaster. That's actually a better buy. Like if you're somebody who's never played an Assassin's Creed game, go out and get those, go out and get, the older Assassin's Creed games, the remasters, and just enjoy those. Those games are awesome. If you jump to the new games, they're nothing like those games. And I gotta say, one thing these live services are gonna do is they're gonna really make people enjoy games like these. Games like Ruiner. And you get a game like Ruiner that doesn't have any microtransactions or DLC, that's fun to play, that people enjoy, and people are gonna remember and play these games. Now, as far as I don't know if Ruiner has a boxed copy. Let me check that out for you guys, because I'm a kind of person that I like box copies sometimes, and I'll go pick up a game. I'll pick up a box copy of a game that I have digitally once I find it on sale, and I'll have that copy. I just like the art and everything. I'm just one of those collector types. And there is no box copy of Ruiner, so don't get your hopes up. But like I said, you can still get. I got this game for free, and one thing I like about Epic Games and GOG versus Steam is the fact that Epic Games and GOG, basically you own your game. Steam is a great service. The thing about Steam though is, in the toss, you're kind of like you're more renting your games, and that's why I kind of like I like that when you own your game, but there's no way to get a physical copy of this game, so you're not going to get one. That's unfortunate, but Ruiner is still a great game. And like I said, you can get it on the PlayStation 4 and probably the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One and the series of Xboxes and the Nintendo Switch and Linux and Windows. So there's, you can get this game pretty much anywhere. It's not on Mac, which is interesting, but I don't know. It's just not on the Mac. I could see this game running on mobile though, and I know a lot of people are not big fans of mobile gaming, but I could see it definitely. This game would not have a hard time being ran on some of your high-end mobile devices like your iPad Pro in the iOS store or the App Store or whatever, and obviously your high-end Samsung phones. This game would run no problem, and it's definitely worth the money. It's $20, so it's definitely a game worth picking up. Full price even. You're not getting ripped off. But I got it on sale, and free is an excellent price. Oh, and for all you Linux heads on here, I am going to put a link to the Heroic browser for Epic Game Store in the description, so you guys can, play your Epic Store games. I know a lot of Linux guys are kind of like, well, screw Epic Games because they don't like Linux. But I mean, Heroic works great and it plays these games just like it's supposed to. It's actually, in a lot of ways, it's better than Proton so far. I have not had a game that I've tried to boot up that hasn't worked. I've had that happen with Proton, and it just where no version of Proton will work. Maybe it's because the sheer breadth of content on Steam is so much bigger than what it is on the Epic Game Store. Epic Game Store is mainly modern games. A lot of them are UE games, but I find that the games just run just like they're supposed to right away. As soon as I hit play, they play, and they look great and they run great and just like they're supposed to. They on my hardware. So I haven't had any problems, and I definitely have to recommend that if you're a Linux gamer, then this is definitely a piece of an application that you need to use. But I mean, Heroic is great. Just check it out. And I mean, I have something for my GOG games, and most of my GOG games that are built for Linux run. But it's really hard to get GOG games that are not built for Linux to run through any of the front ends that I've found. But this thing works great. I've never seen an emulator program like this work this well. And they say they call it a native application for Linux. I don't know how it can be since the games are not written for they aren't written for Linux. And when you go on you can go on the store through this application through Heroic, it'll say that this game is not made for is not made for your system. But when you go in your Heroic browser and you just download the game, it runs great, and you can buy games through it. And I haven't had any problems. I don't know. I haven't had anything not run, like I said. So definitely, if you're a Linux gamer and you like to play games, then that's probably a good way to go. I know Epic has not been really helpful with Linux, although I hear that UE5 is supposed to be much easier to put your games on Linux to UE5 than it was on UE4. Even when they had because UE4 they took all the Linux stuff down for some reason, and nobody knows why. But I'm hearing that UE5 is basically supports Linux natively. So I don't know. It's weird. It'd be interesting. I hope that Epic Games doesn't try to shut down the Heroic store when they bring their own store up online. I think they should just let Although I mean they get the money anyway, so it's not like this store they don't charge you extra, or they don't take any money from the Epic Games store. So I don't know. I just hope that I think Heroic is a really good piece of software for your Linux users and for gaming. And that definitely think you should check it out, all of you. But for all PC gamers, this is for all PC gamers, whether you're on Linux or Windows. Do not buy a used graphics card. I mean, refurbished maybe, but do not buy a used graphics card, because the thing about buying a graphics card, you buy a graphics card, and if there's something wrong with it, you take it back to the store and you get another one. That's generally a rule for PC gamers, because you buy these parts, and any part can be bad. No matter how good the company is, the part, you can get a bad part. You can get a bad part. And if you do get a bad part, you want to be able to take it back. If you buy a used card from somebody, especially a miner, who's had this card running at its most maximum, temperature for days in and out, then you definitely do not want to buy that card for your system, because it's probably not going to work very long. It's probably going to die, and you'll be left with this card. You can't take it back, and it may die, like a day or two after you put it in your system. So there's no reason to have that. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Graphics cards are coming back in. Buy new graphics cards, even if you have to wait a couple months. Do that for yourself. That's pretty much it for this episode of 734 Games. This is your host, Tom, signing off from 734 Games, where gaming is alive.
Don't do it.